Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Donna Ennis. I'm Director of Diversity Engagement and Program Development for the Georgia Tech Enterprise Innovation Institute, and I lead our Georgia MBDA Business Center. Thank you so much for joining us today for our second in a series, and first in our B2C marketing series, Introduction to Marketing by Creative Mischief. We really appreciate your time you're taking here to learn about marketing to the consumer market. And with that, I wanted to turn it over to Jennifer Passy, who is the program manager for our Navigating Again and Adjusting to the New Normal program. Jennifer?
Thanks, Donna. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our first B2B marketing series. Again, I'm Jennifer Passy, and I'm on Donna's team. I serve as the Senior Project Manager for the Georgia MBDA Business Center here at Georgia Tech's Enterprise Innovation Institute. On behalf of the Minority Business Development Agency, or MBDA, our center in Georgia Tech, I welcome you. At the Georgia MBDA Business Center, we help MBEs develop, grow, and scale. We provide assistance through our 4 pillars: access to capital, opportunities, infrastructure and capacity building, and connecting MBEs to strategic resources. We are a part of a national MBDA network of 70+ centers and special projects focused primarily on growing and strengthening the minority business community. MBDA is the only federal agency solely dedicated to the growth and global competitiveness of U.S. minority-owned businesses. The agency has been in existence for over 50 years. Our center is part of an ecosystem supporting MBEs, small businesses, from startups to mature companies. Here is a national snapshot of some of our key partners, including federal agencies, cities, universities, corporations, organizations dedicated to diversity, industry organizations, etc. In the previous slide, we covered some of our national ecosystems. However, we also partner with local community organizations and ecosystems on the university, city, state, and regional levels. The Georgia MBDA Business Center has a dynamic, multi-talented team led by Donna Ennis, our center director. At this time, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Comcast, EPCO, and Train Technologies, for their ongoing support of the Georgia MBDA Business Center. Today's program is sponsored by MBDA. Our program, Navigating and Adjusting to the New Normal, is a part of the U.S. Department of Commerce Minority Business Development Agency's Coronavirus Response and Relief Award. We'd like to thank our NANN partners, Albany Community Together, the ATL Airport Chamber, Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Georgia Micro Enterprise Network, Greater South Fulton Chamber of Commerce, and US PAC. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our guests for today and presenters, Karen Murphy and Isham Colasetti with Creative Mischief. We'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Donna, and thank you to the Georgia MBDA Business Center for inviting us here today. We're really looking forward to it, and we're really glad to be with all of you here today. Thank you for coming. We are Creative Mischief, and our presentation today is on B2C, Small Business Marketing Essentials. This is the first in our B2C marketing series, so we'll be talking about business to consumer marketing. It's going to be a high-level overview. And some of you, I noticed, may have attended last week's B2B class, and so some of this might be familiar to you, but we will be introducing some new information about marketing and consumers and marketing to consumers. And as usual, at the end of each section, we'll also be providing a prompt and some pauses to sort of think about each of these areas and their approaches. So moving on. just a little housekeeping. If you have any questions, be sure to type them in the little Q&A box. You'll see a little comment box. It's not the chat box, it's actually the Q&A box. And what we'll be doing at the end of this presentation is we're going to be taking some time to answer your questions. We'll try to get to all of them, but if we run out of time, we'll be sure to capture those and send them out and email them to you so that you have the answers to your questions. Okay, so Creative Mischief is a branding and marketing agency with a simple belief: if we dream it, we can build it. We've been in the business since 2008, about 14 years or so. And we've been working throughout Atlanta, outside of Atlanta, across the nation with all sorts of different types of businesses, B2Cs, B2Bs, large, small, local nonprofits. And won some awards along the way, and have really been very grateful to be able to work with a lot of great companies throughout Atlanta, Georgia, and elsewhere. This is just a little bit about Isham and I. We've been together working for the last, I joined Creative Mischief about, I guess, 10 years ago now. Working
close
mostly
to 14.
yeah, it might be, it's pretty close. Working mostly with brand positioning and marketing strategy, as well as content strategy. And I'll kick it over to Isham to let you know about him, since he's one of the co-founders and the chief strategist.
Yeah, so my name is Isham Colasetti. I founded Creative Mischief in 2001 as a hobby project. I had a full-time job and did this on the side. Mostly as a web design company. Over the years, I noticed most of our clients were trying to solve marketing and branding issues by refreshing their websites. So I made the shift, brought on partners, and we started helping clients with branding and marketing, specifically with the web being one of those components, often helping to solve how to get more impact with existing resources, people, time, and budget.
Okay, and now for our presentation. As agency, we always start with brand. We really like this quote from Mr. John, because having a strong brand is one of the most important things we feel that you can do for your business. Some way to get those answers for brand development and how to, the questions that you need to ask regarding your brand and how you will distinguish your brand with other customers and with your clientele is knowing and asking why you do what you do. What is your purpose? What value you bring that your competitors don't? Who is your audience? Who you're building your brand for? We have found a really great site. Some of you, we've already shown this to at fool.com, which is used to be Motley Fool. And they have a small business section where they have this thing called the blueprint. And within the blueprint, they have a whole area on brand positioning. And it's a really great exercise. If any of you have time to do it, go through it. We highly suggest walking through it. They have these steps identified, which include identifying your target, educating yourself on your competitors, doing a SWOT analysis, leaning into your selling points, knowing those unique selling propositions, creating the positioning statement or your tagline, and refining your identity and positioning. So these really are the building blocks of brand. Worthwhile to spend time doing this and just making sure that you have the answers to these questions before you move forward or as you were moving forward with your brand.
And the reason we brought this up, and this is a way that you can go to this website and you can go through a process that we would take our clients through. It's very similar. We just guide our clients through it. So if you wanted to do this on your own, it's a good resource. So and this is a client that we worked with. It's been a few years now. When we started working with Red Brick, they had been in business for 20 years. They were never profitable. Their latest leadership team was looking for to competitors, and they thought what they needed to be is the most creative brand in the Southeast, which led us to build the packaging on the left. And so this Hoplanta was their signature IPA, Hop Circle was a lighter beer. We did all this worked with local artists, put together this package. Everything was beautiful. The client loved it. They still weren't profitable. So we suggested that they go to the research and understand the market better, which is how we would normally do things. We found the largest buyer of craft beer was in the grocery store. And that largest buyer was typically the wife with a grocery list. And the grocery list had one of the items on there, get an IPA from Red Brick. So if you're looking at the packaging on the left, you can't tell what it is or what style of beer it is. And it was also very difficult to find Red Brick because the logo was small and, you know, sometimes different colors than red. So what we did is we took that information and we said, okay, let's simplify this down. Let's take your packaging. Let's make a very big red brick at the top of all the cans. Let's use this brick pattern so that in the grocery store, you would come up and the 6-packs created a brick wall. And then let's get rid of all the cute names and use what the style is. Those little changes, while I like the stuff on the left better, the little changes in the research, they started becoming profitable. And by becoming profitable, they were able to attract new investment and continue to grow, which was helpful for them for sure. We look, brand consistency is one of the things that will help a lot. Embodying the brand and tone of the company throughout everything you do. Understanding your brand and how you're going to talk to your clients allows you to produce all your marketing a lot faster. Brands that retain consistent messaging and identity see a 33% increase in revenue. When we look to the research out there, and actually this should have been updated, my bad. For B2B, it's 6 to 8 marketing. People need to see 6 to 8 different marketing, like ads or messages. For B2C, it's a lot more. It's 17. Google says it's up to 17 and getting higher. If you think about the amount of messaging and advertisements the typical person sees in a day, it's about 5,000 ads. Billboards, ads in magazines, ads on TV. As you just walk through the streets, you're inundated with ads. In order for someone to recognize your brand, they need to see the same thing over and over again. The examples we showed on the left here are the Coca-Cola and the Pepsi. You can definitely tell which one's Pepsi and which one's Coke, even though the names are switched out, because of the amount of time they spend making sure that they have a very consistent brand. Same color, same swoosh, same fonts. Those things all work together so that every time you see a Coke or Pepsi ad, you recognize it right away. So as a check-in, some of the things, some of the questions you might want to ask yourself is, can you state in one to two sentences what you do and what is unique about your business? Do you understand the value you provide to each of your audiences? And then have you documented how your brand, logo, colors, fonts, imagery, tone, voice, should and should not be used across all your marketing channels, web, your sales collateral, your social media, print. A good exercise would be to print out everything you're doing. Like, what are the ads you're using? How are you educating people about your products? and how are you marketing to them through email. Print it all out, put it up on the wall, and see if it all looks like it's coming from the same company. And if it's not, figure out what's different and how you can fix it so that there is consistency across everything. And then also ask your customers to give you 3 to 5 adjectives to describe your brand. What do they think about your business? Does this reflect how you want your business to be known? This is a good exercise because your audience is going to have a perception of your business. And there's going to be things they like about it and things they don't like about it. And by asking those questions, you can start to see what you can build more on and what you can start kind of fading out and getting better at attracting more customers that are similar to the ones that you currently have.
Right. And in terms of this branding check-in, you know, as it relates to your business, you're talking about really as a consumer, a business to consumer business, you're talking about your brand and your product and how that is viewed in the marketplace. So being able to talk to those customers and even a focus group, being able to just find out how they feel about your brand and your product is a great way to go about doing that, to make sure that it's really speaking how you want it to speak to those customers.
Yeah, I just was counseling a company that is in a medical device company that helps women going through breast care. And their logo is a fish hook. And I was completely confused. I asked why they chose fish hook. He's like, well, I love the fish. I'm like, you may want to ask your market, especially when he started, he was only trying to get investment so he could build his product. But now he was trying to go to market. I was like, you might want to talk to some women going through breast care, breast cancer, and their families, if the fishing hook is the right mark to build trust. And my guess is he's going to be coming back pretty soon to update a lot of that.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's a pretty distinct story there in terms
he's kind of
a miss with your market, let's just say. Okay, so this is a great quote. I don't know if everybody knows who Miss Halroyd is, but she was the first African-American, or is the first African-American woman to grow $1 billion company, which I'm sorry, $1 billion company.
Billion.
Yeah, $1 billion company. And her quote here, we get our results from where we place our attention. I like this because a lot of times what we do, of course, is we work with companies and let them know how important marketing is. So where you put your attention is where you're going to get your results. So if you want people to come to you, you have to get out there and market. And that's where you have to be putting your attention. It's tough as a small business because you're also doing a lot of work. So being able to know where to spend your time and what is going to make the biggest difference is going to be really important to you.
And to kind of build on that, where you focus your attention depends on where you're having challenges. So there's a model, it's called Attract, Engage, and Delight. And it's about, attract is all about advertising to people that don't know you. Engage is how you get people to interact with your products and to learn more about what you do. And then delight is how do you get them excited? So think about delight almost as the customer service side of it. And after they're a client, how do you keep them happy? So there's a lot of tactics under each one of those. For Attract, you may be using search engines, you might be using online ads, you might do print ads, videos, public relations, but you're trying to get your message out in front of your audience. So if you know who your audience is, you know where they spend time, makes the attract part a lot less expensive. Attract is where you spend the most amount of money to try to find new audiences that you're currently not selling to. Once you find out who they are, you engage them. So this could be content marketing, could be ebooks, videos are very helpful, email newsletters, product releases, any of those kinds of things, so that you can engage with them on a regular basis and say, hey, check out this new product, or check out, I've got a sale, or these kinds of things. And then once they've purchased, you can start doing different types of things. So how do you get them? Now you know who they are and what they've purchased. Now you can start providing better customer service, providing them with like what's the next thing that they could purchase from you. You can ask them about the quality of what they got. You can help them use that whatever they purchased from you better. You can invite them to an online community, all those kinds of things. And you can also then target them. If you know who they are, you can use retargeting to kind of upsell them on other products. So there's a lot of these models out here. I like the attract, engage, delight, because it's basically 3 phases. You can, once you master this, you can get more and more granular. But this is a good starting point. If you guys aren't looking at HubSpot, not necessarily suggesting you use their products, it is expensive. However, they do a great job of providing good information and doing a lot of research around what marketing is working and not working. So for 2022, what they found is influencer marketing is got the best return. Short form videos, you could kind of think about TikTok with that, or you might think about 2 to 3 minute videos that show a little bit about how your product, like how you make your product, or how your product is used, things like that. Then social content, and then search engine optimization. So these are the 4 most best tactics with the best ROI. Influencer marketing is one of those things that like you think about Kardashians, like they are influencing marketing machines. However, there's a lot of research saying that the smaller influencers that have less than 100,000 followers actually are having some of the better bang for the buck. It costs a lot less, and they have a tighter community because they're trying to grow their community, so they spend more time building it and being responsive. So the data is starting to say that if you can find influencers, these micro influencers, you can do pretty well with them. I follow a lot of woodworking related stuff, and there's one of the guys produces a product that helps woodworkers cut wood, essentially. He was selling a few here and there, and then he got featured on another woodworker's video, and overnight his product sales just skyrocketed. He's like, I have so many orders, it's hard for me to do anything else but just get these things out the door. And it was one product mention that he didn't even pay for on another video, on another influencer site. And yeah, overnight he got a ton of sales that way. So we often hear, actually, I'm gonna skip this one.
What's wrong?
This one was supposed to get deleted. So email is another tactic that is very effective. especially in that middle stage of engaging with your audience. Once you know who they are, you email to them. You're always trying to learn more information. So how do you get more targeted messaging, and how do you segment your audiences in a way that makes sense? So if you sell products to men and women, understanding if you're marketing to a man or a woman makes a big difference, because you can provide the relevant product to them, and more relevant, more likely they are to buy it, right? So think about how to segment your email list in a way that makes sense. Customize messages for each segment. So again, if whatever those audience segments are, figure out what message you want to send to each one. And a lot of the email tools out there are really providing some good tools to help provide different messages to different audiences. And then use automation and triggers. So MailChimp does a great job of listing all the different types of triggers. So if you have an online store and someone puts a product in your shopping cart, in their shopping cart, and then doesn't purchase, they can take that product and create an email automatically and send it to the person at you can say, after 6 hours of it sitting in the cart, send an email. So creating all of those triggers will help increase the amount of sales you have. Because if you're like me, I'll walk away from my computer because something's happened. I come back, I forget what I was doing. And then I'll be closing browsers like, oh, I was in the middle of trying to purchase that, totally forgot about it. Or my computer crashes and it's gone. Those emails help remind people, go back. You thought this was something you wanted, come back and actually finish it up. So we added a couple different systems here on the right. Sendinblue, I'm currently actually looking into. They tie email marketing, SMS, so your text messaging and Facebook ads all together in one system, which is kind of pretty awesome. Campaign Monitor, if you sell a wide range of products, Campaign Monitor does the best at segmentation. So if you need to get very granular in how you segment, they're great. MailChimp is real good for small business. They just got bought by QuickBooks or Intuit. So they're integrating in with QuickBooks very well. It's an easy system to get up and running very quick. And then last is ActiveCampaign, which they add a database. So you can build very robust databases of your audience. So if you want to know a lot about your audience, you can create lots of fields to capture. And then it also tracks if what pages people are visiting on the site. So if I go to your website and I am a contact in your email list and I look at a product page, it'll tell you what product I looked at. If I go to a contact page, it'll tell you there that I went there. If I fill out a form, it'll add that additional data to that contact. So if you have a product that's where you're trying to gather a lot of information, where you have a sales team that you work with, ActiveCampaign might be a good solution for you. So for those of you that haven't seen how automation works, this is a view of ActiveCampaign. And this is an automation we do for a company that sells cutting wheels for tile and stone. So we've got a giveaway that we're doing, like a contest. The contest is on social media and their email, and If you fill out a form saying, I'm interested in being part of the giveaway, you get added to the giveaway list. Then the first thing that happens is we instantly send email 1, welcome to the contest, that talks about it. And then you wait, so you can create all these actions. Like for us, we're waiting 3 days, and then we send another email that talks about the history of the company and gives them a little bit more information. And then again, we wait 3 days and we give them the next email. So this is what an automation journey looks like. There's a lot of things that you can do. You can create actions that says, if someone doesn't open this, I want, like, you can create action that says, did they open? Did they not open? And there can be different paths afterwards. And obviously, the more complex you make this, the more emails you have to write. For a lot of clients, we just want to get the basics in there and track how effective it was. So I think pretty much most modern email systems offer this. Some of it you have to pay extra to get an automation. Other ones, it's kind of included in the base package. So then test. So be a reliable source of information with updates, images, videos, and don't forget to respond to messages on social media. This is a lot about social media. So videos getting to be the main, most highest ROI for social media. So being on YouTube, things like that. And it's interesting that when you start breaking down how people get videos to get hundreds of thousands of views, they'll talk about changing out that thumbnail picture sometimes 20 or 30 times before all of a sudden they get the right thumbnail that all of a sudden gets them hundreds of thousands of views. So that's a lot of testing. Put something out there, see how people respond to it, and then adjust accordingly. With social content, ask questions, start a dialogue, create a poll so that you can learn more about your audiences. And most important, answer people. The more that you respond, the more that your posts will be seen. Like all the social medias, if you're being responsive, then they'll show your post to more people. The more people that start asking questions, and it kind of snowballs, and that's how that works. And then shorter videos, you can work with a videographer to create some long form videos you might put on YouTube, but then also have them edit down and create some stuff for Instagram and Facebook and some of the other platforms so that you can get shorter form videos that you can share.
Another thing, in terms of like these short videos that can be really easier for a small business also, just sort of being able to talk to your audience, speak to your audience. You can do a short clip every morning and say, hey, look at, this is what I'm doing today. This is what we're working on here today. This is what we're, and just post things like that. So letting your audience in and kind of engaging with them, not to be frightened that, you might be making the wrong move. Yes, it's important that your brand is right and that you're not going out there with the wrong types of messages, but just starting to have that interaction with them, especially when you have a small audience in the beginning. It's a good way to be able to speak to them. It's just starting out every day with a little, hey, this is what's on today, and this is what we're working on. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So yeah, it can be simple. That simple.
I read something on HubSpot also. This was maybe a year ago. And what they were saying is a lot of people will start, like you'll get real gung-ho about social media and you'll do a lot for a couple weeks. but then you won't get the response you want, or it won't get the reach you were expecting, and people kind of, the wind comes out of your sails, and you stop doing it. And they were saying it takes about 13 weeks of consistently posting before you really start to get some pretty impressive traction. And we've tested this with some of our clients in the past who did the same thing. They would put out a couple articles, and then they would wait 6 months and put out a couple more. We said, hey, let's put out a lot of stuff. Let's write it all up front. Let's schedule it out, and let's get it out. And then as we did that regularity, every week we got a little bit more. And then it's kind of like a hockey stick. So focus on the platforms that make sense for your audience. So not everybody is on all platforms, and it's difficult for a small team to be effective across all audiences or all platforms. So understanding your audience, understanding where they spend their time, and understanding what they want allows you to produce content that will resonate with them and allows you to put it on the right place. And then if it's right audience, right place, and you're not getting the traction you need, you can always promote it with a few dollars and get a wider reach until you get to a point where you are getting the traction you want without having to pay.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I think that's, go ahead, sorry, Isham.
Oh, I was also going to say BuzzSumo, if what you're selling can be integrated in with what people are talking about today, BuzzSumo is a great way to find out what's trending out in the world. So if, like, whatever your subject is, you can say, what's trending around this subject? It'll tell you what it is. It gives you ideas for how to produce content.
I was just going to say, I think one of the most interesting thing you said was that it takes 13 weeks a lot of times.
Yeah.
So it's easy to give up. It really is. But so I think a takeaway there is really just to be able, if you're going to put together a schedule, make sure you go out past 13 weeks and then see how that does and see where you're getting traction and build on the success that you are having. So.
And 13 weeks sounds daunting. It sounds like a lot.
There
are a lot of websites out there. Fiverr is a great example where there are writers who you can commission to do content relatively inexpensive. So I've seen stuff where you can get 10 to 20 social posts for a couple $100s for people. So if you understand your audience, understand what they care about, you could commission someone to actually produce several weeks worth of content at once, schedule it all out and have it sent. And thinking of it in blocks, like, here's the 5 or 6 things I want to talk about. Find someone to produce all 5 or 6 things at once. It gives you a couple weeks to come up with the next 5 or 6 things, and just keep doing it like that. Will make this a lot easier and a lot less expensive. So provided a couple, like this page, if you've ever heard of Yeti, they start off selling coolers. Now they sell a little bit of everything. But one of the things they do is they have categories. They do a lot of videos. They have lots of categories. And this gets to the testing idea. So I would look at this. Here, they're talking about a specific collection. They're getting, and everybody knows who they are, they're getting some views out of it. But then if you look at Yeti Presents, these things, 130,000 views, 770,000 views. Like they do these in-depth stories about people. And they happen to have the product in there sometimes, but the focus is more, Yeti has found these people that are interesting to their audience. So they know that a lot of people fish and when they catch fish, throw it in their coolers. They know that a lot of their audience likes barbecue. So it's like, they understand their audience, they're creating stories that resonate with that audience, and they're putting their name at the front and the back. And then sometimes there's some products in there, but not always. The thing I found was also interesting is even in these ones that have hundreds of thousands of views, they are responding to questions that are directly to them. So they're getting tens of thousands of comments. And not all of them, and I would say 95% of them are just like, oh, this is so cool. And, there's no question there. But anytime there was a question, they answered it. And it seemed for them, a lot of it was around production. Like, what'd you film this with? And who was the musician? Anything that was directed at them, they responded, which I thought was pretty impressive. And then here's another group. This company makes furniture. They are South Korean, I'm pretty sure. And even though their questions are coming from people all over the world, they're replying to it. So you see this on the right, they're doing replies, they're using Google Translate to be able to find out what people are saying and replying to it. So this kind of back and forth allows them to get 177,000 views. And, they built a subscriber list of 49,000, which is pretty impressive. So as you get into social media, regardless of what channel it is, make sure that you do start dialogues with anybody who's posting. That if someone asks you a question, answer them. A lot of times what I see is there's a lot of behind the scenes, like how I make my products that are sold. And in those videos, there'll be a section where they said, hey, if you have any questions, or if you think I'm doing something wrong, or if you'd like to see me do something, they often will guide people in ways that they can ask questions, or the kinds of questions they can ask, with the knowledge that the more questions that are asked, the more interactions on the video, the more it's going to get viewed. So little ways to be able to game the system. Karen, I'll kick this to you.
Yeah, a content marketing plan. A lot of what Isham was just talking about is what can come out of a content marketing plan. It's really what drives everything that you're going to be doing across all of your channels. So being able to identify the channels that you're going to market. But what's more important is, or as important, is knowing what you're going to say across those channels. And so a content marketing plan really just basically allows you to create content in, let's say, in large chunks, if you will, at various times throughout the year. So you might do an entire video that you then take apart and sprinkle out throughout all the channels that you have to, to really leverage the time that you spent putting together this larger piece of content. So that might be an article you've written, or a white paper, or a case study. Well, not everybody's going to sit and read those, even though it's very important for you to have that information. It's also a great way to to basically source some of your social media. It's very important to be able to get your content out there, because when you have good content and you know what people are looking for and what they need, like Isham said, that's going to drive people back to your website, where you can capture the information you need from them so that you can either have a phone call with them, or you can put them on your email list and start emailing them. But things like your photos and videos, your webinars, your podcast, all of those types of things, having that scheduled out throughout the year is going to be really helpful in how you go about making sure that you do have a consistent presentation and a consistent presence on social media and email, and really speaking to your audience. So taking the time to create that marketing plan is really important. The content marketing plan isn't easy, but there's all sorts of tools out there that you can go to and find. It can be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet that you say, okay, this is the market, this is what we're trying to achieve. This is the market we're trying to reach. This is how we're going to reach that market. And this is when we're going to be reaching that market and what needs to be going to them. So having some kind of calendar to be able to manage that can be very helpful and keep you on top of things as you're going forward.
Yeah, for Diamax, they sell, they're selling those cutting wheels that I mentioned earlier to fabricators. They know their product release schedule throughout the year. Like here's when our new products are dropping. Here's the places we're going to be. So they do a lot of road shows where they're going to show up at different retail locations and answer questions around their products. And then they know what trade shows they're going to be at. And those three things pretty much fill out the majority of the year's social media calendar and email marketing calendar and how we're updating the website. So, yeah. Next, if you haven't done it already, make sure you claim your Google My Business. Takes a little bit of time, but Google My Business makes a huge impact in how you're found, especially on local searches. So if you have a retail location or multiple retail locations, getting all of those places set up in Google My Business, so when someone searches, they can find you easier and that you show up higher in the rankings is important. So, and then finally, we've got a marketing check-in. Karen, you want to take that?
Oh, sure. Okay, so yeah, at this point, we just going through this and asking yourself a series of questions just to make sure that you are on the right page with marketing. First question, what?
How much? What much?
Okay. The first question, proofread, what much, okay. How much detail do you know about your audience? Do you know which social media platforms your audience uses most? What tool are you using for scheduling and responding to social media? Do you have a tool to do that? Is your audience growing? Are you getting people to interact with your content? Have you thought about segmenting your audience base? And do you know whether or not your email system allows you to do that based on their interest or involvement with your product or brand? Have you created automated responses for when somebody completes a form, purchases a product? And do you know what those responses are going to be? Have you sort of thought out that journey and ways to make it easy on you to be able to move somebody through that journey? And do you have a process for capturing customer feedback or testimonials? And then in addition to that, we thought that a few recommended actions, writing down 3 or 4 themes related to your product that would be of interest to your audience, making sure you know what those themes are, and really then start using that to go out and talk about it and make sure you're reinforcing those themes. And then start creating content and sharing content that relates to each of those themes and see what is sparking conversations, what's creating leads and what's growing your business so that you can do more of that. So really it goes back to testing and learning and knowing where your audience is, and don't try to do everything at once. Choose a target audience, a subset of your audience, choose one social media platform, do it well, and just start learning about them, because one of the biggest things you want to do is to get intel on the audience so that you can continue to do the things that are going to gain you the most traction. So that's it for that. And now we're in the Q&A section of the presentation. And Isham, we had a couple questions. One of them was around how you find micro influencers. And I remember at one point, there was a few places where there were sort of some tricks to being able to find those micro influencers. And
so there's a couple services out there that they'll help you find them for a fee. But the other way is just start looking. Like if you, for example, like our daughter does a lot, like is very interested in makeup. There's a lot of people that all they do is talk about how to apply and take makeup on and off. Find out who they are. Find the ones that align with how you want to be perceived. So if that would be a good representative of your brand, and just reach out to them, do a direct message and say, hey, I got a product I'd like you to check out, and see what they say. They may direct you to someone who is going to kind of manage that, or they may actually just say, yeah, I'd love to see it, send it to me. So that's how I would probably start, is just looking. So if you're look to the people that purchase your product and find them on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and see which ones are a good fit. Like, this person is a good representative for me, and ask them. Worst that they're going to say is no, but truthfully, this is how they make money, so they're probably not going to say no.
we had a couple other questions. I don't know that we're going to have time to get to, but Jennifer, should we go ahead and answer those? There's just two others.
Sure, please.
Okay, and
Thank
Isham
you.
will just have to answer quickly. One of them was, should the message be the same across the span of your social media, or should there be small differences for each platform? So in other words, if you said one thing here, are you going to say the same thing on each of your platforms?
If you think about how people interact with the platforms, it's different. I mean, how someone goes to Twitter for a certain kind of thing, usually it's more long form content and insights and news. They go to Facebook, they're trying to engage with family and friends, and it's more laid back and social. If they're going to Instagram, it's all photographs and things that are interesting visually. So each one of the social medias has kind of lends itself to a different way of communicating through it. So yeah, you kind of should have them be different for each one, because the audience that's on it is going to be different, and what they want is different. So if your audience is on Twitter and Facebook, or let's say Twitter and Instagram, one's going to need real beautiful pictures, and the other one's going to want a lot of information and content. So
you can
hard to
also
put the same thing in both.
a good way to do that also is to go to one of the big brands out there, or a favorite brand of yours that's really good at this, and you can follow them on each one and see how they present themselves in each one, and you might get sort of an idea of how they approach the different platforms. And they usually do a pretty good job of it. So if they're doing it, they usually do, they modify it slightly for that platform because like Isham said, each one of them has a different personality. So the other question was, it's a broader question. And I hope I say your name correctly. Charu says that they are a chemical distributor and a women-owned minority small business and sells to the US government. But now they want to target private companies like Shell, P&G, Toyota, et cetera. And how should they brand their company? Which is a great question. And I had suggested that she definitely sign up for our March 30th branding, B2B branding essentials class, because we will be doing more of a deep dive on how to get to that branding point as you go out to those companies. But definitely, Charu, I think that, and again, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly, but I think that's something maybe we could follow up with individually with you and think about how you might be able to do that. But definitely selling to other brands, you're going to be wanting to make sure that your brand is very cohesive, that it shows up very distinctly. The government is not going to be as interested in that. They're not as concerned about that. But when you're selling to another brand, they're going to be looking to you in the same way that a customer would look to, a consumer would look to a product. So knowing how your brand presents itself and to make sure that you have that presentation either on your website or with your proposals, those things need to hang together. From a brand.
Two things I would add to that is understand the specific role within those companies. So is it an engineer or is it like a brand manager? Like who is the person that's going to be buying from you so that you can get an understanding of how, like what kind of information is going to be important to them. And then the second thing is look to your competitors. So who are they buying from now? How do you stack up against them? What do you do better? What do they do better? Understand that. And then that becomes the foundation for what you're going to communicate.
Two more questions, then we just have to wrap it up. What is the best email system to work with Shopify?
Yeah, so all the ones that we listed work with Shopify. I'm currently setting up a Shopify account and I'm researching Sendinblue. It seems to be, the thing I like about it is if you're going to advertise and do paid ads through Facebook and Instagram, and you want to also use text, then it seems like a very competitive product that is well priced. If it is email only, MailChimp is the easiest to start up with. So, yeah.
And then the last one, is it important for an online business to claim your Google My Business? I think we had that question before.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. It's tougher. But yeah, you should have a Google My Business somewhere. And as you start to grow, if depending on how you're trying to grow, if you want to start targeting specific regions, you could set up an address, like get a post office box in different states, and then create a Google My Business to that post office in that state, so that you get a regional presence, and then you could use that as well. It does help with your search rankings.
Okay. So I think we need to wrap up. Jennifer, thank you for your patience.
Oh, no,
Thank you, everybody. We so enjoyed being here today with you and appreciate it.
So Isham and Karen, thank you again for joining us. Thanks to all of our participants. And we always receive a lot of great content and information from you when you present to our clients and customers. And We thank you so much. I know for today's webinar, a few things stuck out with me is, of course, you always want to know your audience, but I really like the attract, engage, delight. That stuck with me today. So thank you for that. We have a slide on our upcoming events. Hopefully you did get a chance to see that. We again like to thank our navigating and adjusting to a new normal partners, Albany Community Together, the ATL Airport Chamber, Georgia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Georgia Micro Enterprise Network, South Fulton Chamber of Commerce, US PAC, and we again like to thank Creative Mischief for presenting our first B2B series, marketing series today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Have a wonderful day.